over.
DEMBALI, correct. DEMBALI means help to cross over. Why? You see, like no one else on the planet, not even animals, they don't have to cross over because they were not really disconnected from the cosmic energy that propelled them since creation. Meaning this, an eagle knows what to eat from the day he's born. A zebra knows what to eat from the day he's born. So does an elephant. But when it comes to Homo sapiens, there's only one group of Homo sapiens that eat the food that correspond with his cellular predisposition, and that is the Caucasian. He eats exactly the way he is supposed to eat, the level of food or the level of acidity. But with us, we thought that a food that is good for one may be good for others. Not so. There is such thing as gene food consistency. So when I was arrested in New York, this is going to surface for the first time. What surfaced? I was told that the FDA did not want me to distribute my products. I said the FDA is right. They're correct. Oh, you agree with them? I said, partly. I agree with them because I feel that the FDA may have the wisdom and the understanding of gene food consistency, and that because they have this science, they know that my compounds are not going to complement the human body. The judge said, gene food consistency? I said, yes, Your Honor. She said, explain. I said, when God created a seal, he created a seal, a food consistent with the seal, like when he created the gorilla. So when you remove us from Africa, did you bring up food with us? She said, no. Now, as you and I, brothers and sisters, sit down to dialogue, are we really doing something that would further our cause in health and understanding? The answer is no. No. Because the food that is going to feed the brain the proper nutrition, that has been taken away from us 550 years ago. So when we begin to talk about religion and philosophy and politics, we don't really know what we're talking about, because those things were brought to us. We don't know anything about that. You know, rice was brought to us. Beans was brought to us. Religion was brought to us. Now we sit by and we begin to talk about religion as though we know that the Red Sea was divided. We don't know anything. And as far as Egypt is concerned, I want the brothers and sisters to be aware of this, that Egypt was not a black country after the first dynasty. Egypt was a country that was constructed with Greeks, Persians, Romans, and blacks. So Egypt is not a good representation of us. The good representation of us is in the jungles that we find distasteful. But it is in the jungles that you find the food that is electrical, not in the desert. You understand? Because the desert does not produce anything that is natural. Everything that is produced in the desert is a hybrid. So now we, the children of Africa, we are left handicapped because we are left to the discretion of the Muslims and the Christians and the Buddhists and the Shintos. But we didn't have religion in the forest because we were not evil. We didn't need religion in the forest. We lived righteously. We lived so righteously that the body didn't have any clothes on. But now that we are supposed to be civilized, the very oxygen that the body needs to give it energy, we have deprived it of such, because all we breathe is from our neck to our face to our hair. That's all the breathing we do. So now, for us to put this back on even keel, even the sperm, the very sperm that made you and I, and I'm 77 years of age, this has been going on for 500 years. What do you think my mother and my father was eating when they made me? They were eating pig feet. They were eating lamb. They were eating cows. They were eating hogs. They were eating all kinds of lobsters. And then one night they went and they made Sebi. And now Sebi going to stand in front of his brothers and his sisters and say, I am wrapped tight. I have wisdom. I have knowledge. We don't even know what that is. We don't even know what knowledge and wisdom is if it exists. Well, I don't have that. But what I have is an information that would put us back into synchronization with life itself. I don't have any wisdom. I don't have any Egyptian or African history. I have information that is consistent with the cosmic. Okay? And in that environment, we were able to help people that had AIDS. Sure, we cure AIDS. Sure, we cure sickle cell. But to cure sickle cell and AIDS, one has to divorce oneself from that conditioning that we received over these last 500 years. So, brothers and sisters, when we think that we are wrapped tight, think about the sperm that made us. It was white. It was impregnated with pork and meat, blood and starch. We are the result of blood and starch. And we're going to talk about dialoguing. We better stop all that nonsense and devote our time in investigating the food that would clear the brain and feed the brain and makes us what? At least peaceful, not intelligent, not smart, not wisdom, but peaceful. So what do we do now? We turn to the electric food. But since nobody in the annals of nutrition in the United States is affording us the kind of nutrition that we need, I had to sacrifice myself to the Supreme Court of New York because I placed the air that I cure AIDS and I cure sickle cell. What they could not understand, not even my brothers and my sisters today, all of the leaders in America have turned their back on me. Why? Because they themselves does not understand what I'm doing. But they deny and they negate the fact that, yes, we cure AIDS. And we proved it to Mr. Jesse Jackson, Jr., who is part of the House of Appropriation. I was in Washington, D.C. with Mr. Michael Jackson, showing them proof that we cure AIDS and sickle cell and lupus, herpes, and blindness. No one has ever done that but us. The black race, we have always done that. But because we've been so duped, believing that what we was given from Europe, and everything we have is from Europe. Look at the language I'm speaking now to communicate with you. Is it ours? The answer is no. Does it resonate with us? The answer is no. So what are we doing? Animals doesn't read in the books. Animals knows nothing about God or the devil. But you know what animals know that we don't know? The animals knows what to put in their mouth. And while we are talking about Jesus Christ and Moses, we are putting garbage in our mouth. Now understand that. Now how could that really equate? How does it balance? How does it fit? It doesn't fit in any sense. We better get on with the understanding as to what goes into our mouth that we could prevent from having these babies that are insane like ourselves. Could you imagine that we came from Africa and that when we go back, they ask us for a passport? Do you have your passport? Hey, Mr. Immigration Man, I was taken away 500 years ago. Why do I need a passport to come back home now? You see? That is where they have us. We have been compromised. So instead of learning about philosophy and all this Egyptian and Persian history, we better know what we're supposed to put in our mouth, just like the animals of the world. That is more important than any history, than any Egyptian history. Nothing is more important than that, because when you know what to put in your mouth, you will be extending your life. Not only extending the years of your life, but while you live, you will be at peace with yourself first, then with your next human being. whether white, black, Chinese, Arab, or Eskimo, but you will be at peace with them too. But as for right now, we have negated ourselves and we hate everybody else. That was never the tool of our fathers. Our fathers lived in peace. They didn't have religion. They didn't have philosophy. They didn't have mathematics. But at the same time, if you look closely, they didn't have hospitals. They didn't have supermarkets. They didn't have doctors. They didn't have Prozac. So, yes, it is time. It is time. This week, I was able to enjoy the food of Sister Lauren Vanderpool, better known as Queen O'Green. I've never had a food that was so artistically put together. Not only that, nutritionally and aromatic. So we already have the person that's going to put us in place, put us back in sync. You have her in the audience, Mr. Lauren Vanderpool. Yes, I salute you because I have never had a food that encouraged me to want to stick with the food that creation made for us. And I thank you very much.
You're welcome, Dr. Sebi. Thank you. And I appreciate you and all that you extend to me, through your knowledge and just through your energy. You're so vibrant, and you are the face of health and wellness. You've got more energy than I do, baby. I was grateful to be in your presence and to feed you. It was definitely a pleasure. I'm excited about the things we have in store and the projects that we have in store to really spread this even more and raise more consciousness and feed people life, give people life.